what a weekend, though.
I personally thought it kind of underwhelming.
I did too, even though I didn't watch the games. I couldn't.
I
Wait,
thought underwhelming. I thought underwhelming on
But I actually have
multiple
it with the
reasons.
playoffs in general this year.
Yeah,
Kind of
playoffs in general.
underwhelming. But from what
I mean,
I've
also-
seen, and what I kind of kept track of, it seems kind of lame.
Writing's on the wall.
Yeah.
Here's my only objection to that. I think excluding the Seattle 49ers game.
I'm not saying there wasn't any like close games. I'm just saying as a whole, these players have been, I don't know. They just haven't.
Well, no. I know what you mean, but like they're after the Seattle San Francisco game, so many of the Chargers game against.
But that was more. I don't know if that game was really ever close. It was just a tale of two halves.
Yeah.
Well, right, but I know, but it ended up being an exciting finish. But what I'm saying is even though obviously it started off ugly and had a crazy finish, like those round of like the wild card games and everything. That we saw, and I'm trying to. I can't remember the other divisional games. But I think like for the most part, in the
Bills game was
kind of
a blowout against the Bengals. Mm-hmm. If you're talking divisional round, the score may have looked closer than it actually was, but what it felt like was it didn't feel close at all. It felt like the Bengals had control.
But it was like the excluding the Seattle game. The other games in the very beginning of the playoffs, I feel like were like probably the best football we got. It was like that weekend.
I'd say one game was probably the best, and that was the Dallas 49ers game, to be honest.
Yeah.
There really wasn't like the Chiefs Bengals game were just littered with penalties, same as ours.
Yeah, no, that one pissed me off, the Chiefs Bengals game, because it's like
I mean, ours. Think about penalties that were in our game.
Yeah. Oh no, there's so many, but it was also
that's what I'm saying. I think
that's
what I'm saying. I feel like the Dallas 49ers game really felt like a really legitimate like playoff game.
I agree
because there was very few mistakes in the game, and it came down again pretty much to the wire. Who was going to win? Where the Chiefs and Bengals game came down to a field goal, but like. There were so many issues during the game, penalties, whatever.
So, score-wise, you had, going way back to the wild card, you Jags beat the Chargers 31-30. The Bills beat the Dolphins 34-31. The Giants upset Vikings 31-24. The Bengals beat the Ravens 24-17. Like, those were the games I'm more so referring to, like, where it was all a one-score game and everything. That it made it exciting to keep it close.
Yeah. I guess like last year, I feel like games were closer last year. And
I agree.
Better. It felt like a better team.
I also did better predicting games last year too. I got like 2 games wrong.
No, well, I didn't. But I just felt like this year was kind of like, we kind of knew who was going to win.
Yeah. I felt like they were lame, but I felt like the teams that were in the conference championships, and I kind of said this to you earlier today, Brian, I felt like the Eagles and the 49ers are the best teams in the NFC and the
100%.
And the AFC. You can make an argument, maybe the Bills, but I feel
Chiefs, Bills, Bengals, but those 3 teams.
Yeah, Chiefs and Bengals to me are the 2 best teams in the AFC. So you got what you wanted. You got those teams in the
best 4 teams.
Yeah.
I agree.
Also,
I expected in those games that they would have been a little more competitive. And this is kind of going back to my kind of hockey kind of sense, but when penalties come into it, it kind of gets annoying because I figure, especially in playoffs, I want a little more edge. I want less things to be called. I want more things to come in.
You want them to actually
let
them play, and also because again, everything was very ticky-tacky. We'll start the Eagles 49ers game because that was obviously the earlier game. Unbiased opinion was the moment Hassan Reddick, destroyed Purdy's arm, that changed the entire game, obviously. And I would kind of obviously for the worst, I can speak for Roberts easily, or obviously throw that the Eagles won, but it completely changed the game, and the fact that it literally wasn't even close to being the same game. If Purdy was in there healthy the entire game, it would have been a very different game. Now, don't get me wrong, the Eagles could have maybe still scored the 31 points against the 49ers, but
it may have been a harder 31 points. It may have been a closer 31 points.
Yeah,
I would say, like 31, like 24 kind of thing.
I mean, yeah, because we think, well, first off, like people are complaining how like chippy it was. But I'm like, you're having two best defenses. It's gonna get chippy.
I expect it to be chippy.
It's not gonna be like it's like when the Steelers and Ravens would play each other. Those are the two best defenses.
You just expect blood.
It's gonna be an aggressive, hard hitting, very up in your face game, and you knew that. And the offense was gonna have to do this. Was going to have to match the defense no matter what.
They'd have to almost play as perfect as possible. Limit any turnovers. Don't do anything dumb.
I was okay with the chippiness. I mean, I'm not okay with when Trent Williams tossed a 205-pound dude like he was a paper plate into the ground.
That pissed me off when he's not even just a toss. He slammed down Kayvon Wallace.
I get the reason why. I don't support it, but I get it. And I understand why Wallace punched. Also, he punched the wrong dude. I rewatched it. He punched somebody else.
I think that at that point, he just wanted to punch the first guy he saw, probably.
I'm like, Trent Williams is walking away, and he's the one who tossed you like a paper plate. And he punches him like, he didn't do anything to you. He did nothing to you. But, like, for me, I'm okay with the chippy. Outside of that, I was okay with the chippiness because...
Agreed.
That's just what it was going to be like.
It's playoffs, so I kind of just expected anyways. That's just kind of how I always kind of figured playoffs anyways.
Once it's the playoffs, the competitiveness goes from here to...
Yeah, that's why you see Trent Williams, who normally never loses his cool like that, lose your cool because he realizes your team
at that point, it's literally just he
obviously knows at that point that his season's essentially over. So
I think it's also the reason why the San Fran's defense got so like angry was when you lose your third string quarterback who's your starter and you go to your fourth string and he goes out and then you're like, okay,
you have to go back to your injured third.
They're constantly
or you have your running back. Or you have your running back. You're like, if my running back's to be my quarterback, like we lost. Like that's game. Yeah. That's 100% game.
Yeah.
And then once they were like, oh, we're gonna put Purdy back in just to have so we can have someone who can like be out there to do it. You lost. Like it sucks.
Yeah.
And that's when I went watching that game once Purdy went out, I'm like, okay, we can maybe see, Johnson do something. And then
once he went out,
I'm like, this game's over. Like absolutely no, unless Hurst was 3 picks.
The defense just makes some super bad tackling, kind of like they did on the McCaffrey touchdown.
I mean, McCaffrey's just a great running back.
Yes. He's a beast.
So, like, they poor tackling, but in the end, he's a great back.
Yeah.
So, but like when they both went down, once you lost both your only two.
It's like it's over.
It's like,
and I think they were still like a week away before Jimmy Garoppolo could even be.
They were, he couldn't play. Yeah. So for me, I'm like, once that happened, I'm like, oh well, this is stupid.
Yeah,
like, this is a stupid game because I was thrilled. We were gonna win, and I'm like, like everyone's like, oh, maybe the defense isn't as good anymore. People are like, oh, San Francisco's defense isn't that good. Like, you don't have a quarterback. You're not going to stay on. The offense isn't staying on the field more than 2 drives. Yeah. So, I think I watched the undisputed one. I think the Eagles had 33 minutes of possession and like San Fran like 20 something, low 20s, 22. So I'm like, okay, yeah. When you have an entire quarter,
you know what that's like, right?
Yeah, but when your defense is on for an entire quarter longer, you're not gonna win. Mm-mm. So I still credit San Francisco defense as being one of the best. It's just when you're on the field for that long, you just can't do it.
No,
you're not gonna win.
You can't.
You're not gonna win. So I unbiasedly, I felt like the game was kind of dumb once Johnson got hurt. So I'm like, I mean, what are you gonna do? Stack the box, six offensive line try to run down. I'm like, no team can win with a no quarterback.
My only thing is with this Eagles win is because I kept seeing this everywhere. People kept saying, "Oh, they had the easiest schedule or not even schedule. They had the easiest path to the Super Bowl." I don't think that's true. Like, because the Giants, they're not great. They're not horrible.
But they made it.
They upset the Minnesota Vikings. So that's right there. That's not an easy thing to do in Minnesota And again, I thought it was going to be a pretty close game. Obviously, it wasn't, but because it's tough to beat three teams at the same time, team 3 times in 1 year. And then
I just like seeing close competitive games in the playoffs, anyways. So it's just I'd rather see a close, high scoring game in the playoffs than a blowout or multiple scores. Because even though I don't know if it was like the easiest run for the Eagles to get here, it just doesn't feel like they're playoff wins because we've beating them so badly.
Yeah, we've just been
so like it feels like we just got done week 11, and to me at least, that we got done week 11 and 12 of the regular season. We're getting ready for week 13, who just happens to be the Chiefs and not necessarily going to the Super Bowl.
Right.
That's the only thing I feel about this. I just don't.
Yeah,
as a non-biased kind of thinking of it.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I feel like. And when people complain, like the Eagles didn't have a hard schedule because they played the Giants, they played.
That's what happens when you take the first interconference. Anyways,
my thing is like, you play who you play. Like,
it doesn't matter who you play.
He's not like in college.
It's not
it's not like when you're in college. Like, I want to play these couple of teams from out of conference, where you can have a choice. It's just like
you get who you get.
It's like, I mean, you might be able to have some say in a certain degree, but when it comes to playoffs,
it's also not the Eagles' fault that the NFC isn't as close as the AFC is.
Well, people are like, "Oh, they have an easy playoff schedule." I'm like, those are the teams that made it in. Like, what do you want?
The NFC is kind of like three teams loaded, and the rest are just kind of okay.
Yeah, AFC is loaded almost not top to bottom, top to middle pack. You got but. For the NFC, it's just kind of like you got, like you said, it's like what, 3, maybe 4 good teams, and then you got the rest.
Yeah,
and like I'll put Dallas top 4 there.
Yeah, I would too.
So I mean, like we play who we play.